Hi everyone, welcome to my very first video for my brand new YouTube channel. My name is Lawrence Heim. I have a very small welding repair and fab business. It's a bit of a side gig for me because I enjoy working with metal, welding and fabrication, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do this as a side gig. Make enough money to continue to buy more tools. My business, Suburban Welding Repairs, is located in Marietta, Georgia, near Roswell. For the most part, I work on things like patio furniture and very small things like that, but I really like doing that. I have no desire to build bridges or build ships or anything along those lines. So I really like the little things that I do. But one of the things that I really do enjoy is I enjoy making my own tools. There are times when I'll be in a project, probably like everyone else, be in a project and have a need for some tool that comes up that either I don't have in my toolbox or that I can't find online or in a store, or if I can find it, it's really expensive. So I enjoy making my own tools, and for this, my first video, I'm going to talk about one that I made yesterday. You know, as a welder, there are times when I struggle with making my welds look good and cleaning them up well. And I recently went to my Harbor Freight store. There are times when I find it okay to go to Harbor Freight, and there are things that I don't buy there. But they had a sale, and they had an air file on sale for about $12, and I figure for that kind of price, might as well give that a try. It's something, the function of an air file, which if you don't know, it's basically like a really small handheld pneumatically powered reciprocating saw. Only instead of a saw, it uses a file and can get into tight spaces, file things down, whether for prep or for cleaning up welds. So I do flex core out in the field, and it's always nice to be able to try to clean up all the spatter and the BBs. So they didn't have the air file. And as I got to thinking about it, I figured there's probably something else that I could come up with. So with that tool not being available, I decided I would make something that took care of my need. And what I came up with, I'm sure I'm not the first one to come up with it. I didn't see anything on YouTube about it, but I sincerely doubt I'm the first one to come up with this. However, what I may be is the first one to come up with something that is this cheap, this easy, and frankly this ugly. You'll have to bear with me when I show it to you. The welds, I was trying out a brand new flex core machine. These are literally the very first welds that I was using the machine for, and I messed up in a first iteration of this, so it's really ugly, and I'm just going to keep it that way. I have no need to make it prettier. But basically what I did was I created an adapter for my reciprocating saw that takes files, and the files slide in, and any number of files slide in. There's a triangular, here's a round, and even a modified and a bastard file. And it simply tightens down, and then as you can see, the end of this is shaped just like a reciprocating saw blade with some shoulders, and it simply goes in. And I have an old style reciprocating saw, so I actually need a tool. It goes in, and there you go. I don't have the saw powered up, so I'm not going to show it in motion, but I mean, for crying out loud, it goes back and forth really fast. So that's what I've done. Now, I've seen some other things where they attach to a blade, an adapter that attaches to a blade, but there were a lot of different bolts or screws on that, and it appeared that you would have to change the entire tool if you wanted a new file, as opposed to just changing out the file. And so my design, it's very, very easy. It's just like, this is a handle, see? And it's just a few seconds, and you've got a new file that you can slide in there. So for me, this is a fantastic answer to what I needed: quick change and incredibly easy to make. As a matter of fact, this cost me absolutely $0 and 0 cents to make, because I had all the stuff already here in my shop, and I'm sure you do too. Now, it is a little sticky sometimes to get it out, but it does come out. So let me explain to you what I did. I'm not going to show you, I'm not going to go through making it, or I didn't video actually making it, but I mean, this is so easy, it's really nuts. So what I did was I started off with just a piece of 1/8 inch mild steel, and what I did was I took a reciprocating saw blade and I traced out the shape of the back end, and then between using an angle grinder between a cutoff wheel and flat discs, shaped it to the shape. And one of the things, if you were to do this, that you need to pay attention to is the thickness, making sure that you get the thickness of it. You want to keep it as thick as you can in order for strength, but it's also got to be thin enough to actually fit in there and slide in and out. Obviously, you've got to drill the hole. I'm sure you can see the hole in there. Make sure that you match your drill bit to that hole. I don't remember the size of the drill bit that I used. You know, this just takes a little bit of time and trial and error, just going back and forth and back and forth, and making sure that it fits in your recip saw, and that you can get it out. I actually had it in there, and it got stuck for a few minutes, but I did get it out. So you're probably not going to be able to use anything thicker than an 1/8, and with that, I mean, it looks like it was taken down, I don't know, at least a 1/16. It may be about half as thick as it was. But anyway, so that's just trial and error. Once I got that piece, and you can see that it's not the same thickness of a reciprocating saw blade, or the width of it, I just cut it to I don't remember, I think this is 3/4 inch, somewhere around 3/4 inch wide. Then I had some, and again, I think this is either 3/4 or a 1/2 inch square tubing, and I had some of this. Just welded it onto here, drilled a couple holes onto the top for these bolts, found some bolts laying around that had matching nuts, welded the nuts on. You know, again, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? And these, the bolts, you just need to make sure they're long enough to go all the way down. If you're going to use this for really small files, you want to make sure that your bolts are long enough that can go all the way down and meet those small files. I'm not using anything particularly small, so when I get the file mounted up, these bolts kind of stick out a ways, but I'm okay with that. Now, perhaps the trickiest thing of this was, you can see I've added these shoulders. Again, I started off with this is, I think, with some 3/16 mild steel that I had. what I did was I wanted to give this a bit more strength laterally. So I didn't want this thing to bend, you know, when from the part that was in the chuck, basically, in the reciprocating saw blade holder. I wanted to make sure that was stout enough. So I got these two pieces of 3/16. They're cut basically in the length that is essentially the width of that holder. So I know you probably can't see it, so I'm not going to bother even trying. But this is the size, the width of the blade holder in here. And then the thickness, actually, and here's where things got a little bit tricky. And again, more trial and error. It's not really tricky, but it's also something that if you're going to do something like this, you've got to be very concerned about because it's a safety issue. First off, the width of this has got to be thin enough to get inside the guard so that it actually goes in and mounts, okay? But at the same time, if you just get it in there where there's no clearance, and again, this is something I found out, what may happen is it may actually end up hitting one side of the guard or other as you go. So when you very first try it out, I strongly recommend don't just pull the trigger full bore. Pull it slow and then see if you get any knocking. I actually did have some knocking on one side when I first tried this. And so I did have to take my angle grinder and grind this down so that I got enough clearance. Now there's another part of this too, and you can probably see that my square tubing is kind of scalloped here. It's welded all the way down to here because I wanted to make sure I had a good strong weld, and if I would have, you know, thought about it and carried this this 1/8 length all the way out to the end, certainly it would have been welded all the way out to the end. But here, again, you've got to worry about thickness because when it retracts, right, when it retracts on this side, you want to make sure that this does not hit your tubing, square tube doesn't hit the guard. And again, that's gonna take a little bit of trial and error. One of the things that I did was, before I welded any of this on, when it was just the blank, I put it in and I took my scribe, which is right here, and I put the scribe on here and lined it up with the top. I'm sure you can see that. Lined the tip up with the top of the guard and then let it run. And what it did was that scribed a line, an up and down line, into the 1/8 inch kind of base, if you will. And that showed me the travel. So I knew how deep it would go and I knew how far it would come out. So what I did was I matched the bottom of this up to the top point of that scribe line, because that would have been the furthest in that this thing would go in, equal or relative to the top of the guard. I hope this makes sense. My explanation is making it sound way more complicated than it is. But the bottom line here is you want to make sure that if you had this edge trying to go inside there, it's just not going to work. And ruin your saw, as well as probably create a safety problem, which we don't want. So it took me a little while. Even though I had that lined up, I still had to get my angle grinder in and kind of carve this down a bit more so that it fit in there well without knocking. So again, the two critical points are making sure, for instance, on the back end, this shoulder doesn't knock on one side of the guard, and then on the other side, you want to make sure the square tubing doesn't knock on the other side of the guard throughout the whole stroke. And once you do that, that's pretty much it. The files themselves, you know, I got a few that were kind of, I would say mid-priced. I got them on sale, and then you get a few that are just dirt cheap. Cut the handles off, and you're pretty much ready to go. Obviously, if you get a thicker file, you're going to have to spend some time shaping the tab or the stem, whatever you want to call it, so that it will actually fit. So there you go. And then you just tighten it down. I don't think that you really have to torque these down really hard when you're ready to go. It holds in pretty well. Remember, you've got the texture of the file itself that as the bolts, as you tighten the bolts in, you know, they're pushing the file against the metal and so you're getting that file bite to begin with, not just the pressure from the bolt. You know, one of the things I really like about this is I can just quick change, right? I mean, it's not complicated at all to quick change the actual files. You don't have to take this out of the saw to change. You just pop them in, pop them out. You can rotate if you've worn out one side, which I actually kind of started doing as I was testing it out on this file. You know, it's easy enough to kind of rotate the files, and this will accept about any size file, I think. And if it's not something that will fit in easy, I think it's fairly easy to make it fit. But I hope this was a little tip that is helpful to folks. I'm actually looking forward to getting out in the field and using this tool to help me keep my welds nice and clean and presentable. Again, please, if you bother to take a look, zoom in or notice how ugly these welds are, I again ask for your tolerance here. You know, first time using my brand new little itty bitty mobile flux core welder with some wire I'd never used before, and probably will never use again, having seen how disgusting it welds. I'll go back to my Washington alloys, which to me seems to work extremely well. Makes a fantastic weld, and very minimal spatter for flux core. Certainly am not sponsored by them, have no affiliation with them. I'm just a very satisfied customer, and I tell everybody that I know about that particular wire. So anyway, thanks. Let me know if you got any comments, questions, etc. This was probably a very probably the video that was too long. Probably didn't need to be anywhere near this long, but my first time, and I probably babbled on too much. But thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to posting another video soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.